Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining me. So I'm making this video today because I had an interesting back and forth with the Pleiadians that I wanted to let you guys know about. I've also been going through a lot of shifts myself personally, and I know that my experience mirrors a lot of your experience, so I just kind of want to relay to you what's going on my end, and see what feedback I get from you guys. So I've had a big shift in dream time. I went through a period where I hardly dreamt at all, which is frustrating because dreaming is really fun to me. I love lucid dreaming. I love waking up and kind of dissecting the experience I just had, good or bad. Usually it's good, but I went through a period where there was just nothing, and it was kind of strange to me, and I was waiting for things to come back around. And they sure did. And I've been having probably 2 or 3 lucid dreams every week. And those lucid dreams are interesting because they're not scattered and random. And I find myself in a situation where I'm practicing mastery. I'll have a device or an instrument, or I will be in some situation that I know exactly how to handle. And the information I have and the experience I have in those dreams are, quantum. And I'm able to do things in those dreams that I'm not necessarily skilled at here in the now in this density. So what do I mean by that? For example, a few nights ago I woke up in a dream and I had a staff in my hand, like whatever Donatello has, So I had that in my hands, I realized it, and I knew exactly what to do with it. So I just sat there in a forest spinning that weapon around and, experiencing mastery from a different perspective or a different aspect of me. Entering a quantum state and knowing what to do regardless of what the circumstance is in front of you is something that's really fun to experience, and I'm glad that I've entered that phase. And another example of how that's showing up is last week I had a dream. I was sitting down in front of a piano, and there's a piece of consciousness that remains that will tell you during that experience, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to play this instrument. I've never done it before. Then your hands hit the keys and they just know what to do, and it just channels through you so naturally that you wake up with full remembrance of that experience. So it's been interesting. There's been a lot of clarity in dream time. I've been having a lot of fun. I don't really jump all over the place like I used to do. I just kind of wake up in a new reality and interact with my environment as it's presented to me. And it's been really fun, and I'm making that experience as memorable as possible. And it's fun to fall asleep knowing that your soul has something in store for you, that there's going to be a situation or a circumstance presented to you that you know how to deal with. And, it's a test in trusting yourself. It's a test in understanding what the quantum state is and how to interact with that space. So another dream I had was a little bit different, but I was in the wilderness and a bear charged me. And there was no panic, there was no confusion, there was no fear. I just simply communicated with it to stop, and it did, and it was like we were best friends. So that quantum state is responsive to your level of consciousness, and it is malleable based on how you show up in that space. So I could have taken off and run from that bear chasing me, and that dream would have gone a completely different way. But because I was able to maintain my presence in that space and stand in my power knowing who I was, the result turned out much differently. And I don't know if I would be able to generate those positive experiences if I hadn't been so dedicated and disciplined with my dream time in the years previous. But I'm interested to see if you guys have experienced the same. So I'm also in my waking reality seeing so many more orbs than I was before. I'm not seeing them here and there. I'm pretty much seeing them regularly and very casually. And when I'm in session, there's quite a few of them in the room almost all the time. which has been really neat. I no longer have to really close my eyes to have that experience, which is a good indicator to me that the third eye is leveling up, and vibrationally I'm leveling up. And it's nice to see results in your environment that are showing you exactly what that hard work is doing. And I'm putting myself in a position to generate those experiences. So at night, I'm sitting in my living room in complete darkness, maybe with a dim light on, but not much. And I'm just kind of staring into nothingness, and there's so many orbs passing through the room. It is like a spiritual highway. And, all of you have the same opportunity to have those experiences because there's a lot of interest in what you're doing. And I know that is a hard thing for a lot of you to believe. Like, little old me here doing this work. Are there really souls interested in seeing what I'm doing? Absolutely yes. And I have a video coming out that I'm still working on, still collecting information on how to put it together. But it will go further into who those beings are, who are being seen in the physical and who are behind the scenes overlooking what you're doing here. And when Kryon says there are stadiums full of beings watching you individually, he actually means that, and I'll explain and break down exactly who they are, where they come from, and why they're interested in you. So keep your eyes open for that. And something I've been doing is trying to find a way to introduce my son to things that exist outside of this world. And, not necessarily complicated things, ETs and all of that stuff. I think that stuff will come very naturally to them. But I'm just trying to introduce him to the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, all of those little, or big, I should say, bodies out there in the system that play a big role in making us who we are and dictate a lot of the energies we experience. So trying to do that through a scientific lens, but not necessarily with the scientific bias, making sure that things that are obvious become truth to his reality, and we're not waiting for confirmation to decide what we can and can't believe. So I've been playing around with different ways to do that, and his awe and his appreciation and admiration for what's being shown to him is keeping me going. And while I was doing that, something popped through that was really interesting and gave me a little bit of a perspective that maybe I didn't necessarily have in the forefront before. But while we were absorbing some of that information, my Pleiadian higher self jumped in and said, fun fact, if you delete the Earth from this solar system, this system will still be completely full and abundant with life. And I say, yeah, interesting. It makes sense considering how much water is out there under the surface. And I said, where exactly is the life? And what does that life look like to us? And the answer came back, anywhere in the system that there is perpetual energy, there is life. That is the design of the universe. That's the reason for the push and pull that we see in the magnetics. And humanity tends to associate the development of complex life in the solar system with low probability or something that has to beat the odds, but the design of the universe is to create that life. This universe is a life factory, and life will find a way, and it's literally everywhere. And I asked, is that life dependent on heat being generated? Does that perpetual energy result in heat that results in life? And the answer that comes back is not necessarily. Life can thrive in cold environments. Life can thrive in much colder environments than we can perceive or what we think is possible now. So it's everywhere. And it makes sense that they have to see it for themselves, to study and document that, to say for sure That's totally understandable in a state of separation without outside sources being allowed to contribute. So I actually love the process of science. I love discovery. I love problem solving. I love changing perspective based on new information. And, I like watching humanity go through the process of discovery. I don't necessarily like those discoveries being, suppressed to meet someone else's agenda. But it's interesting to see how things are unfolding. And if you stay emotionally uninvested in what the illusion is trying to tell you is true, then you can step back and study from a higher perspective. And I actually got some pretty interesting information about the creation of the Earth. And they let me know that the Earth was far too small to be considered a candidate to house humanity initially. So what they did, using magnetic pull, they threw a bunch of smaller bodies in the solar system into the Earth, and then they implemented a bunch of smaller moons. They shortened the time it would take for the Earth to cool, and then they ejected those moons into the sun. Some of them were sent into alternate bodies in the solar system, but their goal in doing that was not to disrupt the natural process of the formation of the galaxy, or they wanted to disturb that as little as possible. So this system became viable because of intelligent design and because of its proximity to the Pleiadians. They put things in motion that would make it suitable for us to be here. Now keep in mind, all of this planning goes into place well before any of the story in this galaxy had been told. So that should go to tell you the intelligent design behind all of this, something that science still refuses to acknowledge, but deep down they know that, what's going on here is so far beyond randomness that, it makes no sense to rule that out. And instead of facing public ridicule from their peers, they will maintain a certain level of ignorance until things come to light that allow them to comfortably come out with different ideas, or the idea that there's planning involved and it's not all just randomness. And the final thing that came through that was in alignment with something Kryon said before, but it's always nice to refresh that perspective, is that I was here watching that formation happen, as were you, as was every soul who would participate in the Earth experience at any level. So when they say there is no separation, when they say we are all one, when we say that we are a piece of God and part of the whole, that's exactly what it means. But anyway, yeah, just some things that popped through for me that I wanted to get on camera while my little boy was sleeping. So I've got a lot of videos planned coming up, and right now I'm able to produce about 1/5 of the downloads I receive and put that into video. But my wife is going to be leaving her job here in the next few weeks, officially, finally, and I'm going to have a lot more time on YouTube. So you'll probably see longer 15-20 minute videos, and then you'll see probably a bunch of 5 or 10 minute videos. So there will be an increase in activity from me. I want to thank you guys who are involved in the Akashic Remembrance project as well. There's been a lot of breakthroughs in that project with the members. And it's something that I kind of started not fully understanding what it was, but now the vision is coming clear, and you guys helped me realize that. So in November, like I said, my wife is leaving her job. That is going to allow me to open my schedule during the day, which is not listed currently. But if you have missed out on booking a session with me because they're only night times available, go ahead and send me an email. You can find that contact information on my website. Go ahead and send me an email, and we can look at what will be open at that time, and I'll just manually enter that in for you before I'm able to have my schedule reflect that change. So anyway, thank you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.